All right, guys, welcome back to the Raised Hunting Podcast. I am David Holder. I'm your host. I'm joined today by one of my ding-dongs, and that is the oldest one. That is Warren. But it's because we had to make room for two special guests. And something that we haven't done, our other guests are going to be really ticked when we do this, Warren. You do realize that, right?
Yeah, they're getting shorted.
Yeah, I know. So we're going to probably get a call. We may not get a call from any of you guys out there in podcast listening world, but we're going to get a call from the other guests we've had because these guys came up with a good idea, and that was we wanted to present them something from us to say thank you for showing up. So as I introduce them, I will also give them what we came up with. So on the left of me here, or first in line over there, is Simon. And
yes, sir.
Simon is going to be talking about a deer that Simon killed this year. And to his right is his dad, Lance. And Lance probably helped Simon get to that deer, considering he conceived this young man and brought him into the world and helped him learn what he knows about deer hunting. And we'll get into all of that. And just
That's
so that
the problem with dads. They choose to have you, and then they hold you liable for their decisions.
right.
Yes,
It's because
sir.
we
Just
can't
remind them of
give
that.
them back, right? You know, I mean, no matter what. So we're stuck. But anyhow,
I'm
with
gonna
that,
start charging you a contraception charge every month. Since every time you get it, I'm going to charge you for that.
well, I'm going to have to do the same then. For every time you achieve something in life, I gave that to you by birthing you.
That's not how it works. You
Well, how does
chose to have us.
That might not be true. Maybe mom chose.
But I'm pretty sure it takes two to tango.
Yeah, but I had no idea what we were getting into.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah,
here
you're
we
not
go.
winning this one. All right. But anyhow,
I think
to
I
say
already
thank
did.
you to our guests today, we have new beanies that we showed you guys. So I'm going to show you these. And these guys have said, hey, man, we'd love to have a new hat. And the one they chose was one of these. So if I remember correctly, Lance, you said you wanted the tan one. Simon, you said you'd
Yes,
take the
sir.
green one. So there's a
you.
gift
Yes, sir.
for
Thank you.
making the trip. We appreciate it. But I'll kind of talk a little bit about what – before we do that, though, hang on. Warren's going to do some housekeeping. We're not going to read a story today because that's Easton's deal, and I don't want to steal his thunder. So, but Warren is going to do some reviews. The one thing that I do want to ask you guys, do us a favor, leave the reviews, but also go to the website, check out all the products that we have. I know the glandular scents are kind of outdated right now as far as we're not in hunting season, but they're there. You can get scents. We got Raised Knox. We got the canine line. And then we have lots of new things coming. So just stay tuned because we are bringing more products to the Raised Hunting website. So make sure that you guys are tuning into there. And for you podcast listeners, it kind of goes, it seems like we don't even have to tell you guys. You know when something comes out and you're there and you're on it. But Warren, you got some reviews to read here?
Yeah, so last time we gave a little love to all you guys on Apple, and as always, the Spotify people, we appreciate you guys too, because we can't. I thought actually was there a way now that we could, if they commented, we could see it though, not the reviews though. Okay, but if you guys keep leaving those reviews, it helps us huge. So we're gonna give our YouTube folks a little bit of love. Nurse Mike IN, appreciate you. Iowa Racks and Birds. He's always here for us. Eric Robards, David Harrison, 9731, William Ayers, SP4TT, Jeremy Rupsick, Bob Whitetail Community Scrape, FOU, Scrape Foo. I'm not sure what that one is, but it's a new person, so that's good. And Rob Jockish, 7445. So appreciate you guys. Please leave those reviews, share it with a friend. It helps a lot. But I think with that, we can get
started.
into it.
Awesome. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to do a little bit of a kind of how this all took place, how we got to where we are, and then I'm going to let you tell the story. I'm going to let you fill in because there lots of people kill good deer, but sometimes there's just not a whole lot behind it. And as soon as I talked to Mitch, there was a lot more about this deer. Now, since then, we've learned that this deer scored really high in Arkansas, and so there's just some totally unique things. So we're going to talk about the deer that Simon killed here in 2024 and where you guys are from and that kind of thing. So I'll let you fill it in from there and go from there. So you're going to have to tell people where you're from. They're going to know that you're not from southern Iowa. But
Yes, sir. Well, I'm from Searcy, Arkansas. I've lived there my whole life. I was born in Little Rock, but yeah, I was just raised in Searcy. I've always been a duck hunter, deer hunter, and well, I guess it's led up to this. So, yeah, this story kind of started. I don't even know if this deer he was a spike actually. I seen this deer bed on the edge of the road, and he was a spike. And the reason I know that is because this deer, remember this, he always had a broken tail, and it stuck straight out, and it was just always noticeable.
His tail stuck straight out?
Stuck straight out. It was like broken.
Just like that?
Yeah, just like, it was weird. It just like stuck straight out and went over, like kind of like a dog.
Odd.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so
Kind of like someone who wrecked
you
on a
said he had a
four-wheeler.
broken hip.
Well, that I couldn't remember what Mitch told me what
That's
it was.
a big difference.
Okay, maybe I don't know.
Okay.
But, yeah.
Well, now things are getting a lot more clear.
So this is so we bought some land across from a road they put in a bypass from my grandparents' house, and they've lived there on this property for like 40 years, I think. And the land has actually been owned by the Oaks, which is our last name, since like 1920.
That's cool. So you had it 100 years then.
Yes, sir.
Century Farm.
Yes, sir. And we bought the land across, and we were building a house. And we deer hunted out here in this area, just nothing crazy big, though. And we were building this house, and over there at my grandparents', there's a spike to be on the road. I told y'all that. It ended up being this deer.
So what year was that?
That was that would have been 2020.
2020.
2020.
Okay.
Oh, actually, that would have been 2021. And so what I did was there's a camera over on our driveway when we were building our new house on the property we bought. And I asked my dad, I said, can I take that camera down and go put it in this field at my grandparents'? And they said, yeah. So I went and got some bird seed. I didn't have no money. I didn't have no money to go buy any corn.
I hear you.
And
You
I went
guys are
down.
allowed to use
See,
corn?
hold on, I got to interrupt you because
Yeah.
that's the exact opposite of what my kid would have done. He said, Dad, can you get me another camera so I can go put my camera over there and keep one there? It's not about, like, moving it. It's about, like, how can we make this beneficial for all of us? I get my own camera and Dad gets to keep his there.
That was my other option. I could have went and bought another. My deer camera is gone at this point.
But anyways, I grabbed that camera and I went and put this bird seed out. And I was 12 at this
How
time.
big is the price difference in bird seed and corn?
Well, my grandpa already had it at his house. So I just
Okay.
grabbed it.
All
I
right.
just grabbed it. Yeah,
okay,
that's
'cause
all I
like-
had. That's all I had around. So
He's 12, man.
Yeah, but it's like, there can't be that big of a price difference in bird seed and corn.
But yeah, I went down there and put it out, and 2 days later, I went and checked that camera. Of course, it wasn't a cell camera. It's just a normal
Right. Oh, yeah.
check the SD card. And I went down there and pulled the card, and this big 8-point showed up, and like it was there that first night, and the next night that spike that I seen bell on the edge of the driveway was there, and that's when I seen the tail. I was like, I always know what deer that is, and
You had no idea what it was going to mean 3 or 4
no.
years later.
No, I had no idea. He was just like, it's nothing crazy. Like his spike's like 6 inches tall. I was
Right.
like, I always know what deer that is. And that 8-point, I ended up naming him Jack Sparrow because he only had one eye. And I just thought that was really cool. I just thought I always know what deer that is too. So it's kind of start to that property, and I started hunting that deer. That was probably in July when I got those pictures, and I started hunting that deer when it opened. I fed them the rest of summer, of course, and was hunting them. And first morning he walked out, and I couldn't get a shot on him because it was too dark.
This is when he's a spike? You're going to shoot the spike, or this is the 8-point?
No, it's the 8-point. I named
Okay.
Jack Sparrow, and I hunted him. And that deer's story, I never did kill him. He never did show up this year. Last year was the last year I got pictures of him. But anyways, I hunted that deer, I guess, until last year. But anyways, fast forward that 2021 season, that's all I cared about was that deer I called
Right.
Jack Sparrow. Well, the next year, I put my cameras out again in June. This time I'm actually feeding corn. I put my cameras out in June.
He's
And
learning. He's 13 now. He's a teenager, you know. Dad's
Got
helping.
me now.
well,
Do you guys have any ag or anything? Or is it
Just
Like-
what we've done, which is very small food plots.
Yeah,
we
food
have
plots.
small
So,
food plots.
let-
so what do you put in those food plots?
At that time, we were only doing like a winter pea and wheat.
yeah.
Only fall plots.
So-
we weren't doing anything in the spring.
So what are your deer naturally like? Is there any kind of fields that they go to typically?
No
or-
agriculture close
No.
to us.
So then what do they eat? Like just
We do have
shrubs
some
and-
blue stem
Yeah.
and like some
What's blue
good.
stem?
It's a grass that I think that they will eat. That's
Okay.
good protein. And then we have a lot of privet, and a lot of our deer eat privet,
But
And
they're
what's privet?
probably relying on acorns.
mainly on
Oh, man,
acorns.
we have
Yeah.
acorns.
As
And,
far as
What's
their
privet?
food source. It's like a hedge bush.
Okay.
So, a
So
real
like
small
shrubs and stuff
shrub.
too. Okay.
Yes.
yep.
And I think what we need to clarify here is, and the reason that, because everyone who knows Arkansas knows there's lots of soybeans and cotton fields
Oh,
and
yes,
things
sir.
like that. However, this is close to town. This is
and probably
Yeah.
even considered hill country where we're at. We're
Right.
out of the Delta, just on the edge of it in Searcy.
But you can still hear like vehicles driving by and stuff where I'm hunting from. But yeah, it's right out of the country. But
So that probably makes deer kind of tough to like pattern. Not really any,
I mean,
unless they're coming to like corn or something.
yeah, I guess you could say that. But like, it's just so weird. So we're hunting next to houses, and you would think the deer would be honestly easier to hunt, but they're watching every move you're making, and
They pattern us.
they pattern us what they done.
How many people are around?
Well, I know at the first year, my first started hunting, there wasn't that many people, but now,
Okay, so they're
Past
still
few
they're
years.
still kind of wild. It's not like
Yeah.
people are feeding them out of their hands and stuff like
Oh,
that.
no. But they're just like bedding 50 yards away from these people's houses, watching them do everything, and I just feel like they pattern people more than we pattern them.
but they've also figured out that that's a pretty safe place to live.
Uh-huh.
Because there's not people hunting them very much.
Mhm.
So no different than urban hunting in big city areas.
Yes,
know,
sir.
things like that. So.
Yes, sir.
All right, so we're in year 2.
Yes,
And
sir, year 2.
We're looking for a broken tail deer.
So it's
Not a broken
2022.
hip.
Yeah, it's 2022, and I put the camera out, and that deer Jack Sparrow showed up, and many other big deer showed up. I guess it had been July. This deer showed up, and it just had weird, funky horns. I was like, "There's something. This deer's gonna be big." I knew he was young. He looked 2, and I just didn't pay any attention to it. And then right before season, I was just scrolling through pictures, and I was like, "No, I forgot about that deer that had the broken tail. I wonder where he went." And I just started scrolling through pictures from like just the summer, and I figured out it was that funky looking deer. It was that Spike from the year before, had that broken tail, and I was like, "There's no way I'm no way I'm shooting this deer. He just needs to live another year. He's 2. He has these weird funky horns. Heck, I bet he had like 12 points, but it's almost like his horns were like grown upside down. It was like weird.
It was weird. It's almost like the rack was inverted, like his
Yeah,
horns,
inverted.
and they kind of grew forward, kind of like these do, the clusters.
That's him, or was the other deer?
No, that's him.
It's him.
The deer with the broken
Okay.
tail. That's him.
Do you guys
And
have
he-
any
and-
trail camera photos of?
Oh, we have several.
Well, we may have you send them, and then
I will,
so for
100%.
people that are watching on
Well, you got any
YouTube.
on your phone?
Right now I do.
Yeah, I'd love to see them.
I'll pull up pictures from him from that year. I have
So
a
they
picture.
grew down.
So even when
It's not really grew down.
it's
just
weird how, but even when he would drop his tail some, it never would lay flat. So it would lay out and kind of just curve down.
First, I'm gonna show a picture of like
I'd love to see what
While he's
what
looking
that
for that,
was what was wrong.
I'll tell you, when I was skinning the deer, I pulled down back straps facing me. The biggest muscle that runs on that hind quarter, on this side, it was clear jelly like this. That biggest muscle was completely gone. I could take my finger and stick in gristle, the biggest muscle. So I almost felt like it had to have been a nerve damage to his back end somewhere, maybe even born like minus that muscle, and it was affecting his tail.
And maybe that's what affected his rack.
And it may be.
I'll show you the tail, but in a second. But that's what his horns look like. They were just. You can see he's young. Look at him.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
That's him at 2.
It's him at 2.
Okay. Yeah, so he's still kind of freaky though.
Yeah, he's just weird.
I
Okay.
wish we had some of the others. We had some really neat pictures of him.
Let me find the picture of.
And then, so he was 4, you think, when you killed him?
I think he was 4 when I killed him.
From what we could tell, he was 4, and then we had the taxidermist that took the deer. I didn't tell him that. I asked him to age it, and he called me and he said, "Hey, this deer's 4 years old," and I was like, "Goes right along with what we thought."
What is that old deer down where you guys are at?
Well,
I mean,
we on our place, we don't want to shoot them until they're over 3.
Okay.
We don't want to,
try to
but
make
honestly,
it.
in Arkansas, it's getting way better. Used to, if you saw an 8-point,
Shoot it.
it was fire away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it's there were a few rules passed, and people started seeing results of letting those smaller bucks walk, having better food sources, and it's started to improve. There are more and more people are letting deer walk in Arkansas now. But I would still say anything on most pieces of property 4 years and up, it's fair game.
I try getting them to 5 too, unless they're 190 at 4.
Yeah, yeah, I know. We talked about this on the way up here about how what would you do. Simon was curious what you guys would do if you have this deer on one of your farms.
I'd shoot him.
And I can tell you, well, it depends on what farm.
What farm, what are your, do you have we've started trying to kind of form a co-op, and we've got one neighbor that's really good about it. We share pictures, and let's not shoot this deer.
Right.
And this deer was actually a go last year, and Simon will get to that, and we'll tell you that whole story, but there was a 10-point that was not. And he was a really nice buck this year. As far as we know, he's still there. One of the bigger ones we hope still on property.
Awesome. All right, you found another picture?
So this is his tail. This is the best picture I can find. There's better. But you can see it just don't hang straight down. It has a little curve to it.
And it's always out like that.
It's always out like that.
That's as far down as you will ever see that tail. A lot of times it'll be sticking straight out.
And was that 2 or 3?
That's 2. That's at 2 years old.
Can we see his 3-year-old rack?
Yes, sir. That story at 3, it was just...
I think Easton and I have talked about, I think we may change our age structure rules. Because we had so many deer die this year. Like,
scary.
An incredible amount. Now, Dad isn't, because he shot 180-inch deer.
3-year-old rack.
Shoot.
A perfect 8 point.
Yeah, he was just a normal 8.
Just
normal
a normal 8. And you can see his tail there.
You see his tail sticking out. I'll show you another picture of his tail. It's just...
That's nuts.
Yeah, it's crazy. I never thought he would have been like this. We have a split G2 genetic out there, and I thought this year he'd have done something like that. But nothing that crazy.
Do you have any other photos of him at 3?
Yes, sir. That's what I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find one with his tail like it was. Won't take me just a second. It shouldn't.
Yeah, you're good.
There's another picture of his tail.
It's just always out.
It's always out like that. Every picture is out like that. There's not one it's not. And it was really weird. And I just, that's the reason I always knew it was him. And I'll see if I can find another picture. I have a better one than that.
So
you can see.
Find one of his rack, not his ass.
When he was 3, right?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Do you guys ever have deer disappear?
Oh, yeah,
back?
100%.
And that's one thing also about kind of getting in with some of the neighbors. We've learned a lot about the travel of our deer. And it's over the past 3 years, we've noticed that when some of our deer leave for rut, it's within 3 days of the year before.
Yeah.
We've even almost started noticing daylight pictures within a day or two. From this August, he daylighted, let's say August 4th. Next, and then the next August, it's August 6th or it's August 2nd.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then that's it.
Oh, yeah, they're very calendar driven. They don't know it. But
It's wild how close we've seen deer leave the property, and what we're seeing in our area with our deer is we're seeing a 2 to 3 mile travel. Even being that close to town, we're seeing a 2 to 3 mile travel.
See that tail in his rack? I mean, just always had that tail out like that. I knew it was him.
I think you might have 2 different deer.
No.
You
really think
might,
that?
man.
yeah.
I mean,
There's-
your
well, we-
1 and 2 are super consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And then your 2 to 4 is really consistent. And I mean, I could be 100% wrong, but but your 2 to 4 year old deer, it's like definitely same deer.
Mm-hmm.
But that one's that thing he's like you said, he's a super clean, perfect 8.
Well, when the thing is, it's like I'm not disagreeing with you, but like when their horns are facing away, just the frame. I know it's hard to say that, but the frame is the exact same.
Yeah.
Like I wish I had a picture of them side by side where I could show you.
But regardless, I think he'd still be 4 because I
Yes,
still
he's
think
4.
the same deer. That your first one is. I
So
agree.
you're-
And first 1 and 2 definitely. 1, 2, 4. I agree with you. 3, I'm questioning.
Yeah, it's kind of that's kind of what I thought. But I mean, looking back at pictures and seeing that tail just kind of.
And I would imagine you have a bunch of pictures because you
I have
had
a bunch
cameras
of
out all the
pictures.
time.
Yes.
Another thing about that deer this in year 3 is he broke one of his brow tines off. So you can only see that in certain pictures, but he only had one brow.
Yeah,
Because we did have another deer that was similar, but it had no brows. It never has grown brows.
What? So, do you guys usually see a big jump from 3 to 4 or 2 to 3, or have you had enough make it to that age?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not for us to tell. Would you say,
like a jump,
like in the difference in you're talking about horn development?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Antler
We
growth.
start getting gnarliness out of our deer on our property, we've seen after. How old was Jack Sparrow when you first?
I'd
got
say
him?
he was 3 when we first got pictures of him, and he started getting crazy at 4.
He
So,
started
like, at that
getting
age.
really crazy at 4.
Yeah.
The one-eyed deer did.
That's where we see the biggest jump is always 3 to 4.
3 to 4.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I think you get to hear a lot of other people around here that will tell you 4 to 5. And when your taxidermist aged him, did he do molars or did he do cementum annuli
He did the teeth.
where they cut them?
No, he couldn't have sent it off
Yeah,
that
it
fast.
looked at the jaws.
He did
He
look
looked
at the
at the
jaws.
jaws.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
with the jaws.
we sent him into a lab where they cut them and they can see like the
Like, they
roots like a
count
tree.
rings, like a tree.
And we found that we were off on them a lot. Like every year, we were always about a year old. So my theory is that a lot of the folks here that are just guessing that age, that what they think is 4 to 5 is actually 3 to 4, and where we think that it's 3 to 4, just going off what we've learned from the teeth as far as sending them to the labs, which is kind of where my reasoning too is coming more and more to the fact of like, if they're 4, we might shoot them because you get a little bit. Like we're still getting some deer that they might do another 10 inches at 5 and another 5 or 6 at 6 or something like that. And we get a few that will do a big jump at 6, but the amount that like 4 is 90% of what they're going to be, or 95% is a lot of them. So,
But I think
I
our biggest jump, though, truly is from 2 to 3.
well, yeah,
No,
but I'm saying like when
but-
you're not talking that they're
Yeah.
going from
A little guy,
a basket rack.
yeah,
to
like
a
you don't
130
even really
inch
know
deer.
that, because the deer that Warren killed last year, BG, when he killed him, he's 189. When the year before that, we have a shed, and if the other side, and we have tons of pictures of him, he was 172. So that meant that he grew 17 inches. But the year before is how we knew him. He came and bedded down underneath me, and my cameraman Eli filmed him and he was 125, 130 maybe.
120 probably.
Yeah, I mean, and so he
He
went
was a
from
freak. That's not normal.
yeah, he went from 120 something to 170 something. So that's a 50-inch jump in 1 year, you know. But at the same time, he was very telltale. You could look at him and say that's definitely the same deer. I mean, I have no idea. And just so you feel good, Simon, he does this on every deer, every person, you know, that he questions everything. So until you find something that like this deer, you know, it was not that big. He's just a deer. And then when I said, well, I'm going to bring him to dinner.
We were all off on that one. You were right. I will say that. Yeah. Which is
that was on video. Holy cow. So the first person that comments that they heard Warren say that Dad was right, I'll give you a hat.
I've done that before. It's just not very often that you're right, so I can't say that many times. So what year was this shed?
That shed right there is actually off another deer.
This last year, though?
No, that's this year.
That was this year? You found it already?
Not off this deer, but that's not really a shed. So that deer got
hit by a car.
Hit by a car.
And so, but did he drop it then, or like?
No, when he hit it, the horn flew off.
Yes, it dropped.
Okay.
So it dropped. So I guess he dropped.
See, I've been threatening to do that forever. Like, there's a couple big deer around.
He's going to hit them and knock their horns
Just tap them.
Oh, I'd totally be willing to sacrifice. If it's an 80-incher, I'm totally willing to hit him with my truck. So you've watched it get hit then, or what?
Well, the reason I brought it is because just how much similar they are. But yes, I didn't watch them get hit. I was actually driving home from work, and I seen the people on the side of the road, and I guess that deer was under their vehicle, so I couldn't see it. But I knew they got hit. That deer, it was a deer that got hit.
You went and got the important thing.
Well,
Where's the other one? If you watched it,
they cut it off.
They cut it off before I could get over there. So I went home that night. The next morning, I was driving back to work, and I seen that deer laying there. And after work, went to go pick up my girlfriend, and we went to go eat. And I drove by, and that deer's head was propped up on the side of the road. I seen it had base, like a big base on that one side, and the other side it was like just blood from cutting the horn off. And I walked over there and seen it was like a shed, kind of like it looked like the deer shed. So I was like, I wonder if they hit it and the horn flew off. So I had to go eat. My girlfriend, there's people waiting on us, and I told my friend that hunts in the area, I said, dude, you need all to go look for that shed. I said, I think it flew off. Well, he started to drive his fool around, and on the side of the hill where that deer was hit, 50 yards away, probably that shed was laying there, and he grabbed it, and it was perfect match, like the base and everything.
That's crazy.
I know.
So let's take us to this year. So the deer, knew that he made it through last year?
This one,
Yeah, that one, the one you
He
killed.
thought-
Let's get back to
because
this.
he thinks it's that 8.
8-point. I knew he made it because I had him
Okay.
on camera all the way up to the end of January.
And so then you go into the year, and when did you put out cameras?
So I put out cameras probably in May, and this deer
In
actually,
May?
Yeah, just
Dang, man,
because
you were,
I had nothing.
you were on
It
it.
never ends.
I know. I put them out early, but I just put them out in May, and this deer right here is actually the first one that showed up, and
So that one's close to where you were hunting then, too. Okay.
Yes, this is the same area,
Yeah.
and
That's just crazy genetics.
and he had like a 3 or 4 inch drop tine on that, right? And I wouldn't say is that a drop tine or
Yeah,
is that a
would've
kicker?
been, it'd have been a drop tine. I think it would depend on.
Yeah, it just went straight down.
Not quite long enough.
I'll
Oh,
show
that,
you.
No, it's
whatever
broke.
was
Broke.
there.
Yeah.
And it broke at the accident because we had pictures a day or two before
Yeah.
of it with it on.
And
So were you hunting that one this year, too?
oh yeah,
Dang, that stinks.
Yeah.
We think this deer was 7 years old.
Really?
We had him on camera a lot also, and we watched him just keep getting gnarlier and gnarlier, and that's we think the end product of what he was probably his max for us.
Mhm.
Was that the biggest year this year?
yes,
Yes.
yes. And one time we think it was a 6-point we had on camera. You can kind of see. I mean, it looks like a 6-point with just that weird
I
stuff.
wonder if that's his dad.
That's what I
This
wonder.
is when he was a 6 here.
That's what we think.
Jeez.
See how he's nasty looking,
Uh-huh.
and how that's kind of forked over there.
How long ago was that?
That was last year.
Boy, he grew a decent bit.
Mm-hmm.
So this would have
That was-
been this deer's dad. This would have been the father of this deer, possibly.
That or that deer I called Jack Sparrow, because the second year I had Jack Sparrow on camera, he had weird, not like crazy weird, but he had like the holes in his horns and stuff, that kind of stuff. It's just weird. And
Okay.
ever since that deer, of course I've only been hunting there since 2020, but ever since I got pictures of Jack Sparrow with those weird horns, I've had weird deer. So I just kind of,
Attributed to him.
I think so.
So
feel like-
May, you get your cameras out.
I get my cameras out. That deer shows up. It is at the end of May, so I'd say almost June. pretty
So,
much.
and you knew it was that deer? Like how much antler?
No,
did he
I
even
just
have?
watched him grow.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I was
but
gonna
yeah, he was just like spikes coming
Right.
up.
like
Yeah,
just
yeah,
barely
yeah.
nubbed, right?
Yeah, but that deer, that's the only buck. This year, I didn't have many bucks early in the summer. That was like one of the only mature bucks I had on camera until like July. That deer was showing up.
This is the Jack Sparrow deer, and you can kind of see the gnarliness. His main beams broke off at his G2 right here. But see the knots out here? He's all
Yeah.
broke up. He was a fighter. The dad to these fought all the time, broke every year, and he only had one eye, and we figure it was from fighting.
Right.
Yeah.
But oh yeah, so
So you're in June. You got a picture that you've confirmed it's this deer.
yeah, it's that deer. I know it's him, just the way his mainframe is and everything, and I'm just watching him grow. And then I get one night. It's probably like it was right after July 4th. I honestly think the fireworks and stuff. Of course, this deer always show up in July, but I think the fireworks and stuff just moved this deer around from wherever he was. It was right after the 4th of July. I got a picture, and it's just this deer's like head down coming around the camera, and it just looks like water bottles. Like his main, that's all it looks like is around the corner, just water bottles. And he come in front of the frame, and it was just. I'll show you a picture. Like this deer it just looked like a blob of horns. And
So
in July, it was just.
Wasn't really formed at all.
It wasn't formed at all yet. We had no idea what this deer was going to turn into, and he had another big one with him. And I would say it's a 10-point I had on camera the year before, just because of the way the frame looks. But I'm not 100% sure. I have no proof.
So what did you think when you first got a picture of him?
I didn't know what to think. I was like, "That's the deer I'm going to be chasing," but I don't know what he's going to turn into.
That's what was off of this deer's. That's him looking away from the camera.
Yeah. So you, how do you and
That's a
Dad
cool
decide
deer.
who gets to hunt that deer?
Well,
'Cause it sounds
honestly,
like you were.
how-
There's no
I
deciding.
mean, this is how I am. Like, I would rather him kill that deer just as much as me. But I mean, I'd been hunting this deer, and I just, whenever one of us could go, we'd go. I had school, of course, so he can hunt more than me.
Let's be honest. You would now that you've killed that one. Because I'll be honest. Now I want Dad to kill 192 because I got one, but I don't want it to be like 191.
Uh-huh.
You know, like 190 and we're okay.
Yes, sir. But that's what his horns look like.
Yeah,
When it showed
that's-
up. It just looked like water. It's just like a fat main beam is all it looked like. And those like little tines coming up. Early season velvet hunt. First year we've had it. It opened first weekend of September, I think.
Is that with a rifle or?
No,
with-
that's just with a bow.
Just a bow.
Just a bow, yes. And that's what I tried to kill this deer with. That's what I tried to kill all those deer out there with, is a bow. But I killed him with a rifle this year. But anyways, so that deer disappeared right before the velvet hunt, and the night before the velvet hunt, he showed back up. And so, like, he disappeared a week before and then showed back up the night before. And I thought I was going to kill him because he had daylighted that day, and I thought, I think I have a good chance of killing him. So I went in there and hunted him, no sign of him. I didn't even see any bucks that weekend. Just weather wasn't, I don't think it was just right. I mean, it was hot, to be honest with you. It was in Arkansas. It's just hot that early in the season. And, well, I guess it went another month after that hunt. I don't know if it was because of me going in there. I feel like I got in there quiet. I was real scent free. Wind was right. I thought everything was fine, but he didn't show up for a month. Is at the end of September, or honestly, it was been at the beginning of October, he showed back up. And he stayed until October 20th. And that is the last picture I ever got of that deer, was on October 20th, before I killed him.
And now did you start hunting them again? Were you
Oh,
guys,
I kept hunting them. Like, I hunted them right. So bow season opened up like September 25th, I think, this year. And I hunted every day for that deer I could, this deer.
Yeah.
And no sign of him. I mean,
Did you have
I
school and stuff in between there?
oh, I had school and stuff, yeah.
He
but
said every day
skipping
could,
school?
not
Every
every
day I
day.
could.
I'm just asking what that means.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
Is that
As
skipping
soon as he
school,
was
or
out of
is that-
school,
ever since I was
I was washing clothes and scent free and having him outside. He would come home from school and straight to his bow stand.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's every day.
So you were able to get in the afternoon, squeeze the afternoon. in
Squeeze
too.
the afternoon in, yep. And I didn't know what this year I could not pattern this deer as much as I could in years past. I didn't know what he was doing. And he didn't change his home range, but he was just doing, I guess, different things. Because I think from the year before he was at our house, behind our house, and we've had deer do that, stay behind our house one year, and the next year stay at this one spot at my grandparents' house, which is not even a quarter of a mile away. It's not even that far. And I think something happened. We have hunting pressure around us behind our house. It's one big block of woods, but split into different pieces, and people come in from different directions and hunt. I think it just like pushed them off of that piece right there. He knew they didn't need to go back there. And he this year he stayed in a spot called down below the hill at my grandparents' that field, where Jack Sparrow and all those deer have been. And I think he stayed there. I think he skirted that field where my camera was. Like, I think he went around it, and he stayed on another hill on the neighbor's property. And I think that's where he was staying, because we're in touch with our neighbor, and he had pictures of him ever since he had left my spot, October 20th.
Now, I know that when he was a spike, you saw him. You physically saw him on the side of the road. Would you guys ever see this deer? Like, would you see him or just knew from trail
Simon
cam?
did
No.
it too, bow hunting.
I did it too, bow hunting. And that summer before, I asked the neighbor if I could go look in his field that afternoon, because I knew they were crossing that field to come to my spot. I asked him if I could go look. And this deer actually walked out at 2 and fed in front of me and stuff. I got it on video. It's not a good video. You can barely tell.
Right.
But it's him, and he's just out there feeding around and stuff. And I watched him for like 30 minutes, and then it got dark.
But now when he gets to 3, you guys don't get eyes on him at all?
At 3, I hunted that deer for 10 days straight. I wasn't, so like I was saying before, he stayed behind our house. What that deer would do is he would stay behind our house all night long, and I'd get pictures of him going across that field at my grandparents' house at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know what I was thinking about. I was staying hunting behind our house, but he was actually going over there behind that field and just staying there during the day, I guess. And I hunted him 10 days straight behind our house, no sign of him. I actually seen Jack Sparrow while I was hunting for this deer. The reason I didn't shoot Jack is because he got, like, the year before, which would have been 2022, he got stabbed in the neck, like gored from fighting another deer. He's all busted up, and I think from that injury, he just grew a spike on one side and was normal on the other. But, yeah, I seen Jack, and that's the only mature buck I really seen back in the woods behind our house at that point. But, yeah.
So 2024, though, you guys haven't seen him on the hoof. You're just getting trail
We're just
cam.
We're getting trail camera
cam
pictures.
pictures.
We never saw this deer in the 23 season.
No, not in the
either.
23 season
We never
either.
saw him in
No.
that. We just game camera pictures,
Right.
and a lot
Yes.
of them through the rut, and but just never could get no daylight pictures either that I really remember
In 2023?
of him. Not very many.
Okay, so there was none really, but there's something crazy that, I mean, like y'all said, that he did jump from 2 years old to that weird looking deer to 3, just a normal 8-point. But it's something cool that at 2 years old and 3 years old he did the same thing. Of course, this year he didn't make it to that point, but on the Christmas hunt, which our Christmas hunt what is it?
26th, 7th, and 8th of December.
Yeah,
it's a
that's what it
rifle
is.
hunt.
Okay.
On the last day of the Christmas hunt, when he was 2 and 3, he showed up in the afternoon about the same time. I just thought that was pretty cool. And I knew, I mean, that just kind of, I mean, I just might have been a coincidence, I guess, but
No, I think a lot of times it's consistent. Like,
yeah,
we see that a lot.
And that's the same with this deer. This same deer this year daylighted the first week of August, and last year he daylighted the first week of August. Both years, when he's daylighted, he leaves for 30 days. We don't understand it.
Yeah, it's
but
weird.
He left after the 1st of August this year and didn't come back till the night before his hunt.
Well, he showed up a little bit
week or so
a week before, and then disappeared and come back. But yeah, this year he's just doing. It was weird. Like I know it's the same deer, and it's kind of weird that he didn't do the same thing. And I know I don't really sound like the same deer, but like this deer, he was like all over the place. After I killed him, there ended up being like 15 people hunt this deer. They all had him on camera.
Yeah, I bet.
Everyone was being quiet because we weren't sharing, and no one else was.
And I actually figured out after I killed him, a guy that I know that goes to White County Central. It's probably, how far is that?
The school?
The school.
That's 10 or 15 miles.
Yeah,
out.
he lives probably he has some property 3 miles away from our house. And that deer, that's actually where he was going for that 30-day period. And it's like 3 miles away. And he was coming back to us and then staying, I guess.
So where was he at during the rut?
He was on not necessarily on our property, but he was in that area.
In your area during the rut?
Yeah, during the rut, yes.
Where in this other guy's place, was that like pre-rut, post-rut? When was
it was like
there?
weird.
It would have been in the October phase there. He was cruising, I would say, later October. Because we got a picture of this deer October 20th, correct?
Yeah, this deer wasn't going over there. He disappeared during the summer. That's what I'm
during
talking
the
about.
summer.
During the summer is
That's
when he
when
went
he
over there that
disappeared.
far. It was weird because I feel like those deer usually during the summer
Pattern.
they pattern. I mean, that's where they stay. Am I wrong? Is that what y'all experience?
Well, we get both. We had a deer that lived on one chunk of our ground. And he moved 2 miles every year. And you talk about to the day. I don't know if we could tell you to the day because he might not have walked to the camera. But once he would leave the one place, I knew where he was.
You know.
Yeah.
And the reason that I knew is because I'd get a picture of him for the first time. Warren's the first one that picked up. We had him do it 2 years in a row. And I wasn't looking for him over there, so I didn't even recognize that he was over there.
Yeah.
And then he had moved about 2 miles to where he would end up, and he would stay there all the way until he dropped. And we have every antler from him for 5 years.
Wow.
Dang.
And then then he would always go back in the summer to that other piece of ground.
That's what this one was doing. He was going 1.9 miles, and one of Simon's friends, just by luck, they're talking, has the deer on camera. We didn't know where he was going. It was it's October when that deer would leave.
And he'd show back up like at the beginning of December.
First of December, he comes back.
We got one we call Gypsy that he sounds more like this situation where he'll be on our one piece until like October 10th to the 12th, and then he'll move 6 miles.
Wow.
And then we got really lucky that we were hunting that place too. And Easton, so maybe Dad can tell me I was right because he was questioning me. I said, that's the same deer. I said, we have pictures of that deer. He's like, no, you don't. It's 6 months. I'm looking. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, it's the same deer.
Yep.
So we sat there and then we went and looked at it, and then they were like, yeah, that is the same deer. Well, so he moves 6 miles, and then like once you get to sometime in late December, he comes back, and he moves back the 6 miles. And then the thing that really threw us off that was kind of goofy last year is he did that where we were anticipating he was going to moved 6 miles, but then like October 25th or something like that, we got like 1 or 2 days of him 6 miles back where he started, and then he was gone again. And then he stayed gone like he normally does. So that was weird. But it kind of sounds like the same time period and stuff that he was doing that.
Yeah, so like 2, 3, and 4, he was disappearing about the same time, showing back up about the same time. And this year it was just a little bit different for the rut phase, cruising phase. It's just a little different.
Well, he's probably getting more active.
As
he got older, he was having a bigger part of it, so.
Yeah.
All right, so archery season, you don't see him, though.
I don't see him. I hunt him. Like I said, I hunt as much as I could. I made sure the wind was right, of course.
Dad, are you hunting him too?
Not at this point.
Not at that point,
So
but
not really
So where
till
are
he
you
qu-
hunting?
Not much, really.
Uh-uh.
I'm
Duck
more of
hunting.
support systems. I'm getting our decoys strung up. That's right for duck
Yeah.
hunting. But
You should take some notes.
Whatever.
But yeah, like I said, I hunted them, and I guess it hit November 1st. It was the first cold front, and I ended up texting my neighbor, and I asked him, I said, have you seen this deer? I mean, I hadn't even really said anything about the deer because I didn't really want anyone to know. I knew he had it on camera, but I texted him. He's like, yeah, I have him on camera. So this deer was literally 200 yards away from our property. I mean, that can, a doe or something coming by, that can change just like that.
Oh,
That
yeah.
can be on your property. And I was like, yeah, I just need to keep hunting the same spot. I just need to stick to it, hunt it. I was bow hunting, rifle season come. I just, on a deer this big, I didn't want to mess up with the bow, so I just grabbed my rifle,
Yeah.
started going, and yeah, I texted him. I guess it had been November 14th. I was pulling out of my driveway, and I heard a shot while I was hunting, and ended up our neighbors by our house ended up killing a nice 8-point, and the guy that is our neighbor, like closest to the field, not by our house, but closest to the field, where he had the pictures of this deer. I was pulling out my driveway, and he stopped me, and he was like, we were talking about it. I said, yeah, if he's still alive, I think we have a pretty good chance. He's like, oh, he's still alive. I still have him on camera. So I was like, okay, that's good. So that was like 14 or 15 days after I first contacted him. So
how big is the piece that you're hunting?
the literal field I'm hunting is like not even an acre.
so
much
it's
could you
it's
hunt?
that's
It's like the property, when you say, is like 5 acres.
that's a 10 acre square.
That's a
where
10
you're
acre
at.
square where I'm at in that field. Now behind our house is like a 15 acre square.
Okay.
So it's not like
So you guys have 25 acres.
25 acres that we can
have a
hunt.
few more. We have other pieces that corner up to this, but it's not all in one square. But it
It's
all
all-
touches.
It's all
Right.
touches
somewhere.
yes.
And how many acres is that? Like all of it combined?
It's a little over 40 acres.
A little over 40.
Little over
And is
40.
it checkered bordered like that all around there?
It's like 10 acre squares more or less.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there probably was a ton of people
Uh-huh.
hunting this
Oh,
deer.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
could.
there was a lot of people on this
Yeah.
deer.
They could.
And like that field that I'm hunting, like I said, it's like I'm hunting less than an acre. I'm just leaving the rest of that part for like bedding and stuff because it's real thick and I can't really hunt it anyways. But the day that I killed this deer, I'll start from the bottom, like how everything went that day. So y'all want me to tell that yet? You want me to tell you how I
Yeah,
killed it?
absolutely.
All right. So I woke up that morning and it was a cold. It got real cold that night. It wasn't the first cold front, but it was getting to like the first cold front. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't the first cold snap, but it
Not
was
the
getting-
cold front, but the cold front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get
See his tail.
so I get in my stand that morning, take my time and everything, and I sit down and I see a
Look
few
at deer.
does and a buck, and I just didn't think anything of it. And this time, my grandpa actually passed on Christmas Day. He was in the hospital at this time, and it had been November 16th when I killed this deer. That was the day. November 16th, went to go see him. It was probably 12 o'clock. Went to go see him, stopped to get something to eat. I got home. I was like, I'm just getting my stand like at 2:30 or so. Like it was, I knew it was cold. I usually, when it's like that, I used to stay out, but I was just tired. So I'm gonna lay down for a minute. So I started to lay down. Like as soon as I laid down, something come over me. It was like, God's telling me to go get in my stand. Like it was just weird. I had something come over me. It's like, this is just crazy. So I got up, and my dad was talking to a guy that has some land at Velvet Ridge, and he's going to hunt with him. So I was like, Dad, I'm gonna go ahead and go get in my stand. I'll probably be in there by the time you're at Velvet Ridge. So I take a quick shower, get all my clothes on, go get in the stand. I wore like a t-shirt and like thin pants down there. I wouldn't sweat. And then when I got in there, I put everything on. But I got up in there, and as soon as I sit down, I look up and a doe runs right in front of me. I didn't have my gun ready or anything. This deer comes right in front of me chasing the doe. I'm like, oh my gosh, there goes my only chance of killing this joker. I was like, it's over. I can't kill him now. I text him. My dad was like, well, he's on his feet, so just be ready. He can come out again anytime. So I'm sitting there, and where I last seen him, I seen a spike walk out, and the spike's probably like 50 yards away. He walks in front of me, and I'm sitting there watching him, and he just freezes, and like his back legs up and everything. I'm like, what is this deer doing? I was like, is there someone trespassing, someone like walking around or something? It just confused me. I don't know why, but I didn't think of anything of it being this deer, because it was probably like 30 or 45 minutes after I've seen this deer. and the way that he was running had been like totally opposite of where this deer stopped and like looked. And he just stopped there, looked, and his legs raised up. Like 15 minutes, he was just standing there. And all of a sudden, he plopped down like someone shot him. It was like weird. Like he just plopped down real quick. And I was like, what in the world? So I just like start scanning the brush, and this joker pops up in my scope. I'm about to have a heart attack. And I lift up real quick. I don't know why I did, because I never do that. I always keep my head on my scope and everything. I just looked up, and I got back down my scope, and I couldn't find him. Well, I'm scanning real quick. I'm like, where in the world is he at? Well, I found him again. He's like 50 yards. Flipped my safety off and shot him. And he disappeared. And I was like, I either dropped him or he ran. I don't know, because it was thick grass. So I walked over there, and I'm shooting a 300 Win Mag, and it's at 50 yards. So I was thinking surely I dropped him. Right. Well, I look, and it's just a blood trail going right down this trail. I was like, oh, he has to be dead. I mean, I put it right on his shoulder. I walked about 40 yards, and there he laid. And, boy, I started freaking out. I was on the phone with him the whole time. I FaceTimed him and everything. And I showed him. He was like, yep, that's him. And when I called him, he was actually just got in the stand. And he left as soon as he got in the stand.
Well, when he
have to.
The spike thing, whenever he called me, it was at 3:15. I just remember the times. And I was almost to the property hunting. He's like, hey, Dad, the non-typical, that's what we called the deer. I said, right. The non-typical just ran by me. And I was like, well, why are you on the phone? I said, get your gun ready. He's, like he said, he's on his feet. You know, you may see him. And so I get over there, and I get up in the stand. One of my buddies and I were hunting together in a box stand. And Simon's like a son to him. So, of course, he's pulling for Simon on this deer, too. And we're talking, and my phone, bling, I look, and there's a phone up to a scope and a spike standing there with its back leg up. So I'm getting pictures at this point from him, and I'm like, are you serious? You couldn't take my head off of patrol for this deer at this point, you know? And we're sitting there, and it couldn't have been a few seconds. It was. I can tell you, it was 3:44 on my phone when I got the call. After we were discussing this whole spike picture, and my phone rang, and I looked at it, and I said, he's killed that deer. And Michael said, what do you mean? And I was like, oh, he's killed that deer. He would not be calling me.
Right. And
he said, well, are you going to answer? And I said, I got to calm down for just a second. You know, I was so excited. So I was like, hello, you know, and he was climbing actually out of his tree, and I could see his harness hanging, and I was like, oh. And he's on the phone coming down with a climber, and I'm thinking, how is he doing this in a safe manner, you know? So,
but yeah,
probably could have jumped out of the tree at that point. Okay.
We probably should hold this thing up now. So, is it? Can we take that ribbon off there?
Oh yeah, absolutely. You can take everything off.
So what did he score?
He scored 190, and I have the card actually right here. He scored 190 2/8 gross, 175 net.
190 and 2/8 gross, and 175 and 5/8 net.
Yes,
which is insane.
So he's got like a 13 and a half, 14-inch spread.
It's something like that.
We don't know. We came up with 15 even when we were doing it, but it was really weird because when we did the outside spread, which we don't know what we're doing on something like this, we came up with like
nobody knows what they're doing.
It was crazy.
Even the
so when we took the deer, when we took the deer to the Buck Classic, they told us it would be panel scored, and there was a guy there. His last name's Bolin, I believe. He's out of one of these states up north, but he's been scoring deer for years, and he said this is going to be a scoring nightmare.
Oh, yeah.
And,
took him 6.5 hours.
6.5 hours to score the deer. They said there was 5 people would be scoring, and 3 of the 5 had to agree on each measurement, is what we were told.
And so what did he go in the state as a whole? He ranked pretty high, right?
He did good. So he was in gross. I think the deer was the third highest.
It was the third highest.
Gross.
Yes.
This year or
this year at this show at the Buck Classic.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And then
they're killing some 200-inch deer in Arkansas.
There was
one that scored
202.
Yeah.
And is that normal at that show?
I mean,
there's
usually every year in Arkansas there's between 1 and 3 200-inch deer killed.
Really?
Yes.
Mitch is holding out on us.
Yeah,
he just shows us bear pictures.
But he says you can't get anything over 120 in Arkansas.
But I think that the deer is – so did they tell you what they consider how many scoreable points he had then?
They did not.
They did not. I mean, we counted total of 36 points.
Which that's everything.
That's everything. Like every little point is 36.
Did any of them have a theory on why Like why his antler? Have you heard anybody say like why they felt like he grew this way?
Okay, I don't know what it's called. What's that stuff called? Ever since I started putting this stuff out, it's in a bucket.
We've been trying to worm our deer.
Worm our
It's
deer.
a wormer.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it's
so
like
it's like
a
a worm.
ivermectin type
We
deal?
think it's got ivermectin in it. That's
Yeah.
what I
Okay.
think it is.
But ever since I started putting this stuff out, I've had weird horned deer. I don't know if that's the cause, but
So
Must
like,
have been coincidence,
anything
I don't
else
know.
similar to this one, other than this one,
No.
obviously?
no,
Just all the deer end up with those kind of
like
knotty.
holes and knots and
Well,
stuff.
That's the thing that's crazy is these are two different deer. This is not a shed from this deer, but yet they both have
That
like
G2 paddle that's like flat.
and like this hole because he was telling me that there was water when he walked up on the
Yeah,
deer.
it was this one right here.
That
Like
one was full of
Like that little
water.
hole right there is plugged, I guess, with dry blood or something. There was water sitting there when I walked up to that deer. His head was like propped up still, kind of. Like I guess,
It's pretty dense though,
It's
so it's
heavy.
not like because some of these like you see Kansas deer that kind of
We talked about
get
that.
a little bit of this stuff looking,
Uh-huh.
but it's like porous and real light almost. It seems
mm-hmm.
where he didn't have that, but it's just I would love to know like some kind of theory of like why.
I've
what caused
you'll
that
hear different
growth.
things, but one guy told me that screw worms can cause it, and I
Hold on, I want to.
I have no clue about that, but there's
What's
Can you
a
see
screw
those,
worm?
Nick?
we don't it's and
There's a point broke off right there from another deer. It's actually
Yeah,
a
no, that's what I was
10
going to say. We're going to so like when Mitch sent that picture, I was like, well, that just takes the deer to a whole new level.
Yeah.
And so, Nick, can you see that? We'll have to get.
Did
Right
you guys
there.
have any idea on the size? Like, did you?
on inches what we were thinking.
Yeah, like
I mean,
you
I
think it
had
was,
actually
like,
one of my buddies from Iowa. I sent him a picture of him in velvet. He said 190. I thought, well, I don't know if he scores that much. I didn't know, but deer ended up scoring 190. It's
Yeah.
gross, but
Just to be honest, Warren, for me on what I thought, and I didn't want to get Simon too hyped about his
Right.
deer, but the honest truth is I felt like it was over 140, and I thought it was under 220. And I mean, I thought,
Pretty good range
Yeah, I said, well, son, I'll be surprised if it's under 140, and I'll be surprised if it's over 220. So,
yeah, that.
but
pretty
it was
safe.
the truth too.
Uh-huh.
You know, I had no clue, and
Deer like that are tough because, like, you see him on trail cam. Like, if you just look at just frame alone, he just doesn't look. He's not gonna look huge, you know.
on trail camera, this deer's actually way bigger in person when we looked on trail camera, in my opinion. I'll show y'all pictures.
I
opposite of
agree.
most. Opposite of most, he's bigger in person than he is on camera.
Yeah, well, it's just and it's so hard to see all the stuff he's got going on.
But you can't kill a deer with this much character, and especially when he can hold water in his antlers,
Yes.
and then has a freaking tine from another deer wedged in here and broke off in his rack, and he's carrying it around.
Yep.
It's like a grenade was injected.
kinda
into
showed
it, though.
him,
Yeah, he showed me
This
that
video.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's right at the end when he faces the camera. It's pretty neat. But that's actually from our neighbor, by the way. This camera here is from our neighbor.
Thanks, neighbor.
Yes,
Yeah.
and we went straight. After Simon, that's the first person that's wanted.
Yeah,
to know.
actually, you can see.
we
So
wanted to go show him.
Right.
He's a good neighbor.
He
and
sent
Yeah,
me-
so your guys' neighbors are so good. Like one of my best friends, we lie to each other about deer.
Oh well, I didn't say I tell my friends the truth.
Well, I'm just saying, I dang sure ain't telling the neighbor.
but he sent me this at 1:13 on November 16th, and the next picture is at 3:55. Him laying there. And I just,
Yeah,
That's cool.
And like we told y'all before, that deer, he was only 4, and he's a hill deer. And what I'm about to tell y'all, it'd be normal, not necessarily normal, but around like the, I guess, what county would be?
You don't
It's
have-
still in
you
White-
don't
Well,
need
it's
to
still
tell
White
them
County,
counties.
like that.
But
County.
county, where the
You got
river
lots of neighbors. You guys gotta keep secrets.
Well, White County, there's a lot bigger bodied deer, and this deer at 4 years old, and a 4 or 5 year old deer, and where we hunt is usually a buck, like a mature buck, 175, 185 pounds. This deer at 4
that-
years old
With guts.
with guts.
Okay.
This deer at 4 years old with guts weighed 215 pounds.
Wow.
He was big bodied. He's real big bodied.
That's really big.
And we didn't weigh him field dress, but with guts, 215 pounds.
That shows you the difference in your guys' deer though and corn-fed deer.
Oh,
Like, it sounds
yeah.
like your guys' deer are corn-fed too. But did you ever weigh Mitch's booner?
We were just talking about that because we were talking about the size of some of
I
the
thought
deer.
we did too.
Under 200 field dress, but I think it was a hair over.
I don't know.
I don't know. We have not. I can tell you this. I don't feel like he was because I don't think that we've killed a single deer.
He was also late season.
That's what I'm saying. Outside of November, once we get to like November 15th, I feel like those deer start dropping weight really bad. We've killed a lot of deer that are in the 170 pound range that I believe that they would be pushing that 200 range if you killed them in October or early November.
Talking dress though.
Yeah.
We killed a couple though. We killed one that was 265 dressed, and then 236, 239.
Juice was 237 and Bullwinkle. They were the exact same weight.
Yeah, they were both like 236 or
and
something.
Juice, we weighed him with his guts in and then without, and he was 287 with the guts in.
Yeah. So some of these deer are almost 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Of
the
pork chop.
264. I have a picture on my phone of the 264. Warren standing next to it, and it doesn't look right. I mean, and we knew, and our podcast listeners have heard us tell this story, but he didn't want to shoot the deer. When the deer comes by, I'm filming, and I'm like, Warren, you need to shoot this buck. And he's like, why? And I was like, it's big. And he's like, he's not that big. And I was like, this deer is big. His body is huge. And so his rack's going to be bigger than you think. Warren was thinking like 120. And I'm not thinking he's not a 200-inch deer, but he's like 140-something because and finally the deer comes by me at like 6 or 7 yards. I'm on Warren's to my right. And as I'm filming, and I see Warren now go, well, maybe. And then I see him go ahead and come to full draw. And I'm looking at this deer is so long. And anyhow, he shoots him and he runs over and tips over. And we get over there, and it was little. I mean, he's a big deer, so we're taking pictures, and we're like, well, this is cool. Mm-hmm. Then we got him, and we decided to drag him out. Well, he shoots him at the same place that I've shot some does, and he yells at me because you don't kill deer. Unless it's a booner, you don't want to shoot something because it's the worst place in the world.
Yeah, it's bad.
And we start dragging this deer, and here at the time, that was probably 10 years ago, so I was in my 40s, and I was still in really good shape. He was in great shape, and we're going like 10 yards at a time, 15 yards at a time. And I'm like, what the heck?
Look, we knew he was big. We had no idea that he was that heavy.
Yeah, but the more we drug him, the more I was like, I want to know what this deer weighs. This is nuts. And finally, I told him, I said, I'm going to get the truck. We're going to back it through this timber as far as we can and get this deer in there. When we get there and put it at the house, and I'm like, and when we lifted him up, I'm like, we got to do it again. I took it down, put him back on, lifted it again. I'm like, he's 264 pounds dressed.
Wow. Did y'all have history with him? Or?
No.
So y'all don't know. Do y'all know how old he was?
No, we did back then. We didn't.
I think we did send teeth on him.
We might have.
I think he was 5.
Dang.
But I'm not 100% sure of that. But we've had a couple that I think that we didn't kill that I think would have been
rivaled that.
I think Ralph would have been
close,
as much, if not even a little heavier.
Yeah.
But then we'll have others that are, some of them just genetically just don't get as heavy. We'll have that one he killed this year. That deer, we're pretty sure is 5, and he was what, 170 something.
I think that deer is 4.
I think he's 5.
And so that's what we do every year when we kill. And so we're done.
What did
now.
he weigh?
180, 189 or something. 187. I wrote it down at home.
Okay, what'd straight up weigh?
About the same.
And straight up was 6.
Yeah, I'm not going off of weight.
Well, that's what we've been talking about is weight.
Well, I'm going off of what I saw the deer last year, and I felt like he was 3 last year, and we know it's
he's
the same.
He's a 5-year-old deer.
We'll
bet on it.
And let's say this: every time that, if we're ever wrong, we're always a year older.
Mm-hmm.
We have pictures. We'll show everybody. We have pictures of the deer. I'll show you.
We
guys
have it on. We have it on
Absolutely.
camera. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If he's wrong, he's wrong. So I'm gonna say 4.
Yep.
Nick, how many times have I disproven his deer?
I'm not getting into your debate.
Yeah,
You know it's a lot.
because he knows he won't get a paycheck.
He wasn't going to shoot him. He wasn't going to shoot him this year. I think he's only 4. Then he sees him like, yeah, we're shooting that one.
No, so we have same thing. We got a neighbor that works with us, and so like when you guys asked us, would we pass this deer? Or would we have passed? If we have a deer that and I'll use Junior as a for instance. I showed you guys a shed in there. That deer stayed between our neighbor and us. He kind of lived there. Now, once in a while, would he walk off? Our neighbor owns 1,000 acres, so that is a big chunk for him to walk off, but they still can. But if we feel like there's a very good chance between him and us it's going to stay there, then we'll let him go. Mm-hmm. And so we let Junior go until we felt like we were all confident he was 5. and that was the year that we should have killed him. Warren had some opportunities, and it was just a poor blind that we were using a hay bale blind rather than a double bull, and he couldn't get the shots out of it. Then but he killed a booner that year. That's when you killed Dragon. And then so Mom jumped in.
No, I think that's the year I shot the 265 buck. I think Dragon was next year. Yeah, it was.
Maybe it was. Because there was 2 years that we got a crack at Junior. Because what ends up happening with our neighbor, and rightfully so, he bow hunts some but not much. He's a big muzzleload hunter, and our muzzleload season comes in right after gun season. Well, if those deer make it, he has food. And so then they come to the food, and he's usually going to kill them, And but that means we get first crack at him, but he has the best crack at him, and that's the way it works. And so anyhow, we should have killed that dang deer, but he ended up killing him, and he was 189.
Yeah.
And I think he was 6 when he killed him, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I just think I can't believe that whatever you're feeding, that they're eating so much other stuff because you guys don't have a 5,000 acre. That I don't believe that it's the food. There's something there that's contributing to. That's an odd antler.
It is. It is.
Antler style to have 2 deer in the same area like that. Or it's a genetic. I would tend to think it's a genetic.
We've only found 5 sheds in this area because it's so small a piece of property. We can't go walk on other people's property, But besides one deer, it was a 6-point. All the deer that we found had sheds had holes in them. It could be 1, it could be 5, but they all had holes in their horns. It was weird. And
there's got to be some biologist that's figured out something around there, I think.
I don't know. It's just
I wanted. How did he even get all the velvet off of his rack?
that's so.
We're wondering if that's what this was in here, since there's a hole now.
Right.
Because when Simon killed him, it was full of water, and that would have ran out at this point.
Right.
So
Yeah, that'd have been velvet.
But
anytime it's black stain like that, that's what you've seen those deer with the huge drops and
drop
it's
tine. Is it just
like
blood?
a ball. It's dried velvet.
Dry velvet. I just wonder, I would have if I owned y'all 1,000 acres, 5,000 acres, something in that range.
5,000, me too.
No, I know, I'm just saying that's a lot. That's a lot. I'm just saying a lot of land. I probably would have passed him at 4, but I just wonder what he would have been next year.
Oh God!
That I don't know if he'd been. I don't know if he'd been
jeez.
crazy. I don't know if he'd been a typical.
No, shoot it! Don't ever say that again.
Well,
Shoot
I'm be honest with you.
I'm with you,
I probably
Simon.
wouldn't have passed him, but I just.
No, you aren't.
I'm really curious what he would have been next year. Of course,
Right.
we won't know, but I don't know.
He'd have probably gotten smaller. You should shoot him.
It could have ended up being hit by a car if you didn't shoot him.
Dude, the biggest deer of your life don't ever pass. That's be the dumbest thing you can do. I don't care who you are. If it's the biggest deer of your life. Now maybe if you've killed some 190, 200-inch deer, then you could be considering it. The biggest deer of your life, passing them just to see what they could be, I think is stupid.
This coming from the guy that we're in a tree and a booner walks out. Okay, he's 26 yards. He walks into an opening. I start to come to full draw. You can't shoot that. Why? That's Cage. He's 4.
What was the biggest deer of your life?
I hadn't killed Juice yet.
Yeah, you have.
No, I had not.
You're right. You killed Splits. Who would have been through 2 or 3 inches
172.
bigger.
Cage could have been 175. I knew he was over 170, and you said I needed a pass.
Cage was right about the same exact size as what you'd already
But
killed.
we don't know that because I didn't get to shoot him because you told me he needed to go
how
another
many
year.
4-year-olds have you shot?
A lot before I
so
knew that I was.
Then you're going to be telling somebody to pass 190-inch 4-year-old
He's
in
got
Arkansas.
a rule for he could kill them when they're biggest deer ever. But if
No.
someone else, then you probably should pass.
That's not true. No way. You would not have passed BG last year either. And
No,
in Arkansas especially, passing 190-inch 4-year-old would be absolutely dumb. No, not even a discussion. And you can't tell me any different because you just shot BG last year in Iowa at 4.
BG was in a place where we knew we couldn't get him through. You have to qualify things or quantify things with Warren. Sometimes he just takes it all.
Well,
a
no, I
certain
think
way.
that I really do think though that is gotten to it's a problem
It
now.
is.
It's a problem where everybody is doing this where what could it be, and they are, how old are you?
I'm 17.
17 years old discussing passing 190-inch deer is asinine. Like that's absolutely nuts, you know. And the problem is because of social media that thought process is even there.
Yes, it is.
The deer I've never even, I can't count how many deer I killed by 17 that were way smaller, like 190-inch deer, would totally blow my mind. And I think that's the way it should be, you know.
Close to that caliber. The biggest deer I've killed scored like 148. Was it?
I think
Which
that's
That's still a huge deer.
I
That's a
killed
great
him.
deer.
I killed him when I was actually the year before I started hunting at this property is when I killed
And that's
him
in Arkansas.
in Arkansas.
I don't think I'd killed a deer that was over. I hadn't killed a 150-some-inch deer until I was 19, and I live in Iowa.
Yep.
So that's where I do think that we talk about that a lot on here. That having making sure expectations stay realistic and stuff is good because all we see on social media is the highlight reel. And so the thought of being able to, especially with your guys' situation, 10-acre chunks, like the fact that deer made it past everybody else, and you were fortunate enough to be the one to get to shoot him is like I couldn't even imagine trying to compete with that many other guys, especially with cell cam and everything else, all in one place. So,
and for it to be a month, like not having that deer on camera for a month, and him running across the food plot chasing a doe, then coming back 30 or 45 minutes later, it just shows you. I mean, you just have to be out there when they're moving around like that.
yeah,
For sure.
And that's when you kill them. If you don't, in my opinion, and all people have their different opinions, but if you don't kill them when they're patterned good, you're going to kill them in the rut if you do kill them, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then it becomes kind of a whoever's lucky enough to be in the right place.
Yeah,
because
right place, right time.
Our big thing is Warren and I both, I think, do agree on the one thing that we like a few days before the rut starts. That's when we would really, because you have a chance at actually patterning something. We don't have the opportunity to hunt them because you could pattern Iowa deer if you could hunt them late August, September. I mean, that's when our deer are patternable. They're going to a food source and back and going to a food source and back.
That's how it is.
But see, we don't have that. Our season doesn't open until October 1st. So we don't have that luxury. So their next pattern is when they start hitting scrapes right before the rut. They get pretty good, but not anywhere close to the summer thing that I'm talking about. But it's the best chance you have. And then late season, you kind of get that same thing. But as far as bow hunting goes, if you want to really have a good chance of killing one, it's that time.
Yeah, I agree with you because when they're in that full rut, you can't usually stop them.
Right.
In my experience, they're chasing does and stuff. But with me, like that's what y'all do is bow hunt mostly, right? Yeah,
90.
that's what I've seen. And bow hunting, I totally agree with you. And even rifle hunting, crap, during the middle of the rut, it's hard to shoot them when they're just moving like that and they're chasing those does. And
but it's fun.
It's
That's what
fun.
makes us keep coming back.
And to be honest with you, that's when I've killed most of my deer. Is that and I've always wanted to kill a deer. I've killed a couple like during that when they're making scrapes and stuff, and that's honestly one of my favorite times to be out there and just the weather and everything. But
I wish someone had the opportunity to do a genetic test to see if these two are related and how they're related. I would love. We talk about that all the time as far as like we'd like to have a transmitter put on a deer, not to kill it. Like it's off limits, you can't kill it, but just to see where these suckers go and what they're doing. You know, like when you lose them for a month, what were they going and doing? You know, who are they visiting? How far do they travel? You know, I'd love for them to do some. They've done some studies like that in some of the other states. We've talked about those studies here. Yeah,
like that. Not terribly far from you guys, right?
Yeah.
no,
I mean that information for them would probably be way more relevant than it would be for us.
Right.
Like because they were talking, they had one deer too where in some of these GPS tests or studies, it would gone like a mile and 1.75 or 2 miles and a quarter or something like that to get to a bean field, right?
Yep.
Well, here that deer would have to walk through like 5-10 bean fields over to
get there.
two
To get to
miles
that
and a quarter.
bean field.
Yeah,
To
so
that.
I'd just be curious to see how
It's more of a block of woods possibly up here that it's traveling to.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah,
if
a
it's
lot of
traveling
it.
a long ways, it's traveling to a bigger block possibly.
absolutely.
Maybe the oddest one that I personally have ever seen that we all shared in is that we had a deer, we called him Nomad, and then we named him this after this day. And that was, I was going to work one morning, and when you guys come out to the house, you'll see I kind of go around the block, and there he was standing in the corner of my neighbor's field. And I was like, oh, cool, that's a nice deer. I mean, he was 170, 160-inch kind of deer. He looked like he was only. We were pretty sure he was 3.
Uh-huh.
I was like, boy, this deer is going to really be something. So I videotaped him, and I drove on to work. And then I'm coming home from work, and I went down another road, and I was like, before I get to my house, I cut around the other way, and I see a deer in the field, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna film that. Looks like a pretty good deer. And so I crack out the camera. I get some footage of him. It's the same deer I saw this morning. I'm like 2.5 miles away. I'm like, what the heck? Well, then when I get home, like a day or two later, I check some trail cameras by my house. That same deer that same morning was midday was behind my house.
Oh,
so he had traveled like 5 miles that day. That's like, what are you? And this was, and he's still in velvet. And I mean, like, what are you doing? What is the point in that? Because typically our deer in velvet don't do that. I mean, like it's like 500 yards tops. You know, because they don't want to mess up that velvet or whatever the reason, or they find a food source and they stay there. For him to have gone all over the place and then walk in front of my camera all on the same day was just, it doesn't make sense.
Do you think the pattern breaks when the crops are cut, or do you think it's something else? Do you think it's the daylight hours?
I think you get both.
Both come about the same time, because it's with us. What we've noticed is it seems to be our acorns. When our acorns start dropping, and this year we had an early drop on acorns. They came really early. We had a few windstorms come through and stuff, so we had a lot of acorns down, and they, like I say, they disappeared, or Simon said, for 30 days or thereabout, and the other buck that was with him only came back once or twice. Though still, we're not getting any pictures of him.
Of course, he's always done that. It's kind of weird. So he's ran with 2 different deer last year and this year, and they run together, and one usually stays like this one did, and he leaves. I don't know where he goes. There's no telling.
But he's gone.
He's gone. I even asked the person that had the property where he was, this deer, and they went like 3 miles away, like I told y'all before.
Yep.
I even asked him, no signs of him, no pictures of him.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and so we'll see the same thing even here. We don't have a lot of acorns, but we have some. And like this year, Easton experienced it. It affected his hunt on the deer he was chasing because they stopped coming to the bean field. Because we'll get them in the bean fields early like that. Then there's a time when they just quit on beans. They don't want to be any part of it, and then it comes back. But anyhow, those deer stopped coming, and then it just so happened that I was like, they might be on the acorns right now. And he went into some timber, and sure enough, they're sitting on they were saddling. We were talking a little bit about that earlier. Anyhow, they saddle in this spot, and they see like 17 does all underneath one tree. And he was like, what the heck do you think is going on? I said, there's a couple white oak trees over there. That's what's going on, because we don't have very many. And so when you find a good white oak and it produces, it could be like money, like really good. And so, but we'll see more here, Lance, like when they take the crops out, especially corn. Corn will become like a forest for these deer here. They'll actually live in it. And we've had some deer that we never saw, never got photos of them, nothing. And then all of a sudden they cut the corn, and this deer shows up. He was out there the entire time.
Yeah, corn makes a big difference here when they cut that corn.
But you're talking like some of the fields are 100 acres. So it can be a forest.
And then Arkansas is just kind of in the same category. So like when the acorns drop, like most people in Arkansas, if they're not have a food plot, even if they have a food plot, they're going to feed corn. And if you put corn out when those acorns are on the ground, they're gone. Those deer, that corn's going to rot. And if you don't have any cameras in the woods by them or anything, they disappear until those acorns are covered up.
Right.
Or it's just.
Or they eat them. It's just weird. And I've honestly learned not to like freak out if a deer disappears at that time period, because it's okay. They're still alive.
They're still alive.
Yeah.
All right, are you doing a
I got a good
wacky
one.
fact? So I don't know if you guys listen.
General fact may be I don't know if it's all that wacky, but that I was born in Searcy, Arkansas.
They
I didn't know that.
And then you guys mentioned what's really
I mentioned you that.
Well,
I think he was at the hospital, so I don't know if that counts.
Well, we learned it on the way here.
What's really funny is, though, they mentioned the first place that Mom and I lived in Arkansas, Bald Knob.
Yeah.
And I remember calling Cabela's, because back then there was no internet. And anytime I called there and ordered something, or Bass Pro or anything like that, and you would tell them, yes, ma'am, Bald Knob, Arkansas, they'd laugh. What did you say? I said, Bald Knob. Really? That's a place? And I was like, yes.
It just doesn't seem that weird after some of the names of the places in Montana.
Oh, yeah. Then when we moved there, and they, like Bloody Dick, That is a place. I'm not 100%. You look it up in Montana.
Like near where though?
I think it's down by Deer Lodge.
What? I was thinking of Big Arm.
No,
I wasn't going that way.
I'm just telling you, Bloody Dick is a spot.
Okay. Speaking of geographical locations, only 2 U.S. states have never recorded a temperature above 100 degrees Fahrenheit. One is Alaska. Can you guess the other one?
I think I can.
Oh.
Because I know you guys aren't going to think of it, and I think I know.
Yeah.
What are you looking at him for, Lance? You got your
Mine
own
on
head,
this?
too. Yeah.
I think I know. I could be totally wrong.
One other state has never recorded a temperature over 100.
I'd have said Maine.
That's what I was about to say.
Maine?
I swear that's what I was
would
about to
have
say.
said.
Not Maine.
Hawaii.
Yeah, you probably
I did
looked.
not. Did I? Yeah, I didn't look.
You know,
you
thinking
seen
about the
that?
ocean currents.
The reason is
it's a
because the
island.
weather is exactly the same every single day, pretty much.
It's off
And the
the
reason
ocean.
the reason I was positive that I knew that was from our axis deer hunt there, because the guy told us he was going to pick us up. He talked to me 3 months before we went on the hunt, and he told me this is what it's going to be. I'm going to pick you up this time, drop you off at this time, and I pick you up at this time because the wind changes.
Yeah.
And I was like 9:30 every morning he's going to come get it. I mean, he tells me this 3 months in advance. When we get there, he tells me this again. So he picks Warren and I up at 4:30 in the morning. We go climbing this blind. Wind's blowing exactly and hard, just like it's supposed to. At 9:30, whoosh, it's blowing right at the water tank that we're hunting, and he's there. And he says it does this every day, unless they have a hurricane or something. Oh, you can't do that.
The majority
That
doesn't
is
know,
not.
or didn't.
I
Mitch,
guessed.
Mitch, did you know that fact? Did you know that fact? Yeah. Okay. So there's 3 people right there that didn't, and so that therefore makes it wacky because most people didn't know.
But 25% of the people did, because I did. If there's
That's
3
not
that
the
didn't and 1 that
majority.
did, that's 20.
Do you not understand how a democracy works?
It's not a
you
majority.
Tyrant. You're almost as bad as the little button man.
You don't have another
I have
one?
another one. Yeah.
Okay, I might
In
know this.
Venezuela, capybaras are eaten during Lent because the Vatican classified them as a fish. I guarantee you didn't know that.
I don't know what a capybara is.
It's that thing.
It's like a wombat.
What?
It looks like a huge rat,
Oh, I've
and it
seen those.
qualifies as a fish.
according to Venezuelans.
What?
I thought it was a nutria.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what it looks like,
That's what it
overgrown
looks
one.
like, overgrown one.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it was just that, they didn't want to actually eat fish during Lent, and so they just said since it swims, it's a fish, and they gave them some red meat.
Okay, I'll give you. I will let that green one stand, but the other one
Joey Mark
disqualified.
II green buttons.
We're gonna have to go back and edit that out when he touched the button, because then that should be 2 X's because he touched the button. First of all, that's an X right there.
We'll even yours out. There we go.
Just turn them off.
I'm in the
See,
green.
This is out of control. All right. Well, I think we're going to conclude what we've been doing here today. Guys, thank you guys for coming up here and sharing that. I mean,
And congrats.
Thank you.
Appreciate
very
you.
much.
Huge deer.
I don't know what you're going to do though after this. You got what's next year? Is there a 140-inch deer with your name on it, and you're okay with that?
Oh,
Oh,
we've
yeah.
already started.
We already started.
We've got cameras out, and he's
Yeah,
been going
I've
around.
been knocking on doors and stuff, trying to find some more big deer. And
There you go.
I have some cameras out. Nothing crazy yet, but I think next year, not that big. But I think I'll be going after another big one.
There you
hopefully.
go.
Cool.
So,
Cool.
You haven't found an 80-inch shed, have you?
oh no,
Okay, because he'll be down there looking. He'll be knocking on the same doors and asking if he can walk around there to find your shed.
that's one thing in Arkansas is it's just hard for me, at least for us. It's hard to find sheds where we hunt usually, but
Yeah, anything back east, it's more checkerboarded and things like that. And
Yeah.
then they don't even, like ours get eaten pretty quick. I think they get
Yeah,
eaten
same.
way faster
Yes.
even back there. They're just
Yes.
way more things to eat them. So,
yeah.
all right, well, we're going to get out of here because it's dinner time for us. So we sure appreciate Lance and Simon coming up here, sharing this 190-inch deer. If you guys are watching on YouTube, we will have we're going to get them to give us some of the photos so you can see some of the trail camera stuff and things like that. But we sure appreciate everyone for watching and everything. And again, remember, go to the website. Make sure you leave reviews first on any place that you're watching the podcast. But remember to go to the website. There's dog products on there. There's Knox on there, and there's scent products. And then we've got some new apparel. These guys just got 2 of the new hats. But other than that, we sure appreciate you guys, and thank you for joining the Raised Hunting Podcast. We'll see you next week.
Peace out.